There's this story that I remember the pastor of my church telling about this little girl who was helping her mother prepare the Christmas dinner. And as she's standing there watching her mother, she notices that she takes the Christmas ham and cuts both ends off of it before putting it into the pan. And she says, "Mom, why are you cutting both ends off of the ham before you put it into the pan?" And the mother says, "Well, that's the way that my mother did it." So the little girl goes to her grandmother and she says, "Grandma, why was it that when you were making the Christmas ham, you would cut both ends off before you put it into the pan?" And the grandmother says, "Well, that's how my mother cooked it." So the little girl goes to her great-grandmother and says, "Why is it that with the Christmas ham, you would cut both ends off before putting it into the pan?" And the great-grandmother says, "Well, the pan that I had in 1955 was too small and I had to cut both ends of the ham off in order to make it fit in the pan." And now you understand why Americans vote on Tuesday. So why is it that Americans vote on a Tuesday of all days? Why not a Saturday or a Friday or a Wednesday? Well, the answer actually goes back to our agrarian roots. Now, Americans didn't always vote on a Tuesday. At one point early in our history, states were given a 34-day window where they could hold their elections. As long as the elections were completed by December 4th, they were good to go. Problems arose when states started having their elections really far apart. So, for example, if New York had their election really early in the cycle, but Georgia had theirs considerably later, well, the results from the election in New York could influence the results and maybe the voter turnout in Georgia. So it was decided by the 28th Congress in 1845 to have a uniform election where all Americans would vote on one day. Pop quiz, who was the president in 1845? Hey, if you said John Tyler, good job. Fun fact about John Tyler, when the United States was kind of going through its secession crisis and the Civil War, John Tyler, a former president, actually joined the Confederacy. We have a video where we went to his grave that I'll link in the description. So the 28th Congress passes this law that puts Election Day on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. Here's how the law reads. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that the electors of President and Vice President shall be appointed in each state on the Tuesday next after the first Monday in the month of November of the year in which they are to be appointed, provided that each state may by law provide for the filling of any vacancy or vacancies which may occur in its college of electors when such college meets to give its electoral vote, and provided also when any state shall have held an election for the purpose of choosing electors and shall fail to make a choice on the day aforesaid, then the electors may be appointed on a subsequent day in such manner as the state shall by law provide. Approved January 23rd, 1845. So this then begs the question, why the month of November? And why a Tuesday? And more specifically, why the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November? Well, let's start with the month of November. Now, keep in mind, this is an agrarian society that we are talking about. So the months of December, January, February, maybe even into March, those are a no-go because of the winter months. It would be difficult for people to get out when there is 3 feet of snow on the ground. So winter was out. Springtime, well, for an agrarian society, that's when people are starting to plant their crops. They're working on them through the summer. So it was decided that November provided the best opportunity after the harvest, but before the winter set in, to have the elections. So the next question is, why a Tuesday? Why did these people pick that particular day out of the 7 days available? Well, let's take a look at the available days and narrow it down. So first off, Sunday is definitely out because that is church day. And also keep in mind, this is the era before automobiles, so travel was a lot slower, and in some cases, it could take people up to a day to get to the place where they had to vote. So that's going to knock out the days on either side of Sunday. So Saturday and Monday are both out as well. Wednesday doesn't work because that is the market day in many places. And again, if you have to travel somewhere far, it could be problematic getting back in time. So Tuesday ended up being the best available option for this agrarian society where the most amount of people would be available to vote. So now that we know why November and why Tuesday, why is it that the election is held on the first Tuesday after the first Monday? Well, that has to do with the holiday of All Saints' Day, which falls on November 1st. If November 1st happened to fall on a Tuesday, well, that is a religious holiday for a lot of people. So the date was set to be on the first Tuesday after the first Monday to eliminate the possibility of Election Day and All Saints' Day both happening on the same day. So there you go. That's a little bit on why we have our elections on a Tuesday in November. A lot of people have asked the question if this is still necessary, which I think is a reasonable question to ask. But the next time that you go to vote and you're standing in a big long line and the person behind you is asking, why are we voting on a Tuesday? Well, now you'll have the answer.